This is a WWN Publishing Group recording. Copyright 2017, all rights reserved. Wild Pumpkin, a short story by Martha Sweeney from the Love Happens anthology. Read to you by the author. Chapter 1, Delilah. Due to the fact that this is your first offense, the judge explains, looking sternly at me, I'm willing to be a little lenient with you. I can't help but notice the crater lines that seem to ever expand from the corners of her eyes out across her face, sucking me in as if it's the earth quaking open. Her tone is raspy as if she smoked a pack or two of cigarettes a day all her life. I make a mental note to push myself to quit smoking, scared that her raisin-like face and baritone voice is my imminent future. The fact that you only hit a road sign, Mrs. Powell. Is it just me, or do judges really like to hear themselves talk? They seem to ramble on more in person than they do on television shows. That you were not at or above the legal limit for intoxication. Listening to her speak is akin to nails on a chalkboard. This court suspends Miss Delilah Powell's license and sentences her to 60 hours of community service. What? I gasp. My head snaps to the right toward my assigned attorney, the public defender. Shh, Mr. Barron scolds as he scribbles down something on his notepad. The judge continues to talk, but her voice becomes drowned out by the thoughts that are flurrying in my head. I shouldn't be getting sentenced to anything. It wasn't my fault. That sign wasn't there before. I would know because I've driven on that road plenty of times to know if it had or not. I sit in shock for a few more seconds as I try to process what's happening to me. You told me the worst would be 30 hours, I challenge with a clenched jaw, leaning close to my lawyer. I almost choke on the stench of cologne that barely masks his vulgar body odor while they both assault my nose. I told you that the worst would be up to a year in jail, Mr. Barron counters. Be thankful that Judge Vaughn is being nice. Nice? I snap. Yes, he says curtly. Nice. Judge Vaughn is not known to be this lenient when it comes to anyone who enters the system, even first-time offenders. Offender? I scoff. I wasn't intoxicated. I swerved to avoid hitting an animal. The law requires that you maintain control of your vehicle at all times, Mr. Barron states flatly. I did have control, I rebut. Mr. Barron offers me an unimpressed expression. You are also showing very low levels of intoxication, he adds. He stands and begins collecting his things, putting them in his briefcase. Thank you, Your Honor. No, I challenge lowly but sternly. I was not intoxicated. I was well below the drinking limit. This is not okay. Ms. Powell, Mr. Barron begins, walking toward the back of the room. My feet shuffle to keep up with his sudden fast pace as I call after him. For the few times that I've met this greasy, fat blob, he's never moved this fast. It's like someone just announced that fresh donuts are out in the hall, and he's hurrying to make sure he gets his hands on them before anyone else. I strongly advise that you take this time to ponder what happened and what you're going to do with your life, he suggests coldly. Excuse me? I scoff. I can tell by the way you've spoken to me that this isn't the first time you've gotten yourself into a situation. However, this is the first time that you've gotten caught, he claims. I avoided hitting an animal, I repeat, irritated by his accusation. I'll be in touch with some community service options after the weekend, Mr. Barron continues. I strongly advise that you take this sentence just as seriously as if you were being sent to jail. You're a shitty lawyer, I retort, slowing my pace. If you wanted better, you should have paid for one rather than seeking a public defender, Mr. Barron returns coolly. Leech, I blurt. How am I a leech? He questions with a chuckle as we arrive to the top of the marble walkway that leads down to the lobby. You get paid regardless if you try or not, I explain. You're not defending the public. You're taking their taxes for your own personal gain and not doing your job. I did do my job, Mr. Barron retorts. I snort. I've seen murderers and pedophiles get off with nothing. They paid for their lawyers, Mr. Barron remarks. My tax dollars are paying for you, I challenge. Now, like I said, I'll be in touch with some options for you to fulfill your community service hours. Remember, they're to be met within 9 weeks. Have a nice day, Ms. Powell, Mr. Barron says, ignoring my statement. Off to ruin another person's life, I reply with a snippy tone and my hands on my hips. Mr. Barron smiles, nods, and then heads towards the lobby as if we don't know each other. I remain standing at the top of the stairs, not sure what to think, how to feel, or what to do. Community service is a waste of my time. I have so many better things to be doing than helping out a community that hasn't bothered to help me out here in court or ever. I leave the courthouse and pace the steps, pulling out a cigarette to help calm myself. Right as I take my first drag, an image of Judge Vaughn pops into my head. I scream and flick the stick from my body as if it's a bee. I guess the ability to stop smoking is going to be easier than I thought. As frustration courses through my veins, I grab my phone out of my large imitation Coach purse and text my best friend and roommate, Jolene. I send, "Dude, you're not gonna believe what the fuck just happened." It takes only 10 seconds for Jolene to respond. Jolene replies with 3 question marks. I reply, "They took my license." Jolene sends a shocked emoji. Then I text, "And 60 hours of freaking community service." Jolene replies, "Seriously?" I text back, "Yep." Jolene responds, "Damn, you should have killed that cat." I reply, "I will next time. This blows." Jolene texts, "Definitely." I write back, "I need to figure out how to get the car back to the apartment." Jolene writes, "We could sway the hot guys from apartment 156. I write back, "With what? Food?" Jolene texts, "You could put out." I reply, "No." Jolene texts back, "But if he is desperate." I reply, "I am, but not that desperate. Yet." This is the end of this chapter. Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed the story so far. To find out about new releases before the general public, be sure to subscribe to my newsletter. You'll find a link below in the description. Also, to be notified when the next chapter is published, make sure you subscribe to my channel.